Good morning. We have 49 members of the public registered to speak today. The first 30 minutes of public comment will be delivered at the board meeting, and the remainder will be posted online for the public and board members on June 24th. I would like to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Thank you for your patience and understanding throughout the virtual public comment session. Our first speaker is Senator Brad Hoylman.
Hello, I'm State Senator Brad Hoylman, representing the 27th Senate District in Manhattan. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comment on the MTA's work during this difficult time for all of us. And thank you, as always, to the essential MTA workers, including members of TWU Local 100, who are continuing to work so hard to keep our city running safely. We deeply appreciate all that you do. As the city moves into phase 2, subway ridership continues to slowly increase, nearly 1 million riders per day, although it's still far below pre-pandemic levels. I'm grateful that the MTA has been taking proactive steps to clean and disinfect subway cars, provide strap hangers with hand sanitizer, and require face coverings. I'm also encouraged that the MTA is piloting the use of new technology, such as antimicrobial materials, UV light, and electrostatic sprayers to disinfect transit systems quickly and effectively. These steps are important to ensure that New Yorkers can ride the subway with confidence in their safety as more people return to work. Another potential step that I urge the MTA to explore is to keep subway windows open in order to increase the circulation of fresh air, which could limit the possibility of COVID-19 spreading in enclosed cars. Experts have emphasized the importance of ventilation in confined indoor spaces, such as trains and buses, in order to reduce viral load. And the Tokyo Metro is currently keeping windows open as part of their strategy to increase airflow. I urge the MTA to consult with virologists, epidemiologists, and other experts to explore the feasibility of this approach and to remain open to other innovative approaches to make New Yorkers' commutes safer as the city reopens. I also want to continue to emphasize the importance that the subway return to 24/7 service as soon as safely possible. The MTA's lack of willingness to provide a timeline for a return to full service is deeply concerning. 24-hour service is an essential feature of the subway, and an overnight shutdown harms New Yorkers' ability to commute, especially between boroughs, in a way that can't be replicated by increased bus service. I'm continuing to advocate for my bill, S8328, which would require the city's public transit systems to offer continuous 24/7 service when a state of emergency is not in effect, unless reductions in service are approved by a majority vote of both the MTA and New York City Transit Authority boards. Thank you again for the opportunity to provide comment. I know the MTA is in a dire financial position, and I'm doing everything I can as a state senator to fight for more funding from the federal government to meet the needs of our essential public transit systems. Thank you so much for your service.
Our next speaker is Linda Cohen.
Hello, my name is Linda Cohen, and I'm a Staten Island resident. I'm requesting that one existing lane or more of the Verrazano Bridge be reserved for bikers and pedestrians on slow summer weekends. Every New York City borough has pedestrian and bike connections to the other boroughs via a bridge, except for Staten Island. I am not asking for major construction here. I'm simply asking that you just repurpose an existing lane or more during slow summer weekends. I've spoken to several electeds and agency heads, and they're supportive of this idea. But they always warn me, that's the MTA, good luck with them. I understand your limited funds, and as a member of Transportation Alternatives, I've tweeted Senator Schumer to request more funding for the MTA. I understand that he's working on this, but I don't think MTA funding is a major issue with my request. During this pandemic, people are avoiding public transportation, so this is the time when New York City is opening streets to the public and we're providing connectivity for bikers and pedestrians. and this is a time when biking and walking have increased substantially. So I am asking that you repurpose a lane or more of the Verrazano during quiet summer weekends so that bikers and pedestrians can safely travel between Brooklyn and Staten Island. Actually, in the scheme of things, I think that this is a minuscule request. And in all fairness and common sense, this request should be considered.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matt Camper, followed by Boy Fishman.
Good morning, members of the MTA board. My name is Matt Camper, and I am a regional director for Pastures United. So I'm here this morning to really give my big support and really congratulations to the entire Long Island Railroad team for our train time app. It is, without doubt, a long time in the making, and without a doubt, an amazing app. I have used it over the last week and absolutely love the new app. It is definitely so much better than the old one, a lot new information, and just I love everything about it, and especially with the crowding tool. It's going to change the way that all my fellow Long Island Railroad riders use the railroad for many years to come, and especially in this time of COVID-19, this absolutely is a great thing for all Long Island Railroad riders. And I really do think this should be included on Metro North because, Metro North, it's absolutely, they use the same type of app, train time, and it's just, honestly, if Long Island Railroad riders get it, then why can't Metro North riders get the same thing? And I feel that New York City Transit, with the crowding tool, I think this will help New York City Transit subway riders they get to be safe. So hopefully you can look into that for the future as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Roy Fishman, followed by Alita Dupree.
Good afternoon. During this time of pandemic, when many commuters are worried about taking mass transit and we don't want a sharp increase in car use, it makes more sense than ever to allow bicyclists and pedestrians to go across the Verrazano Bridge. This can be done by giving one lane of the bridge to this purpose. Let's do this now, and we can be proud of a forward-thinking administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alita Dupree.
Thank you. Good morning, MTA board, Chair Pat Foy and members. Alita Dupree for the record. My pronouns are she and her. It's good to be back with you. Thank you for restarting the work on the Omni Fare Payment System. It's a very helpful program, and the work is urgent. I think we really need to expedite being able to include reduced fare customers such as myself to take full advantage of that program, because someday I'll share with you my damaged MetroCard story. It took a couple of hours out of my day having to go to Stone Street. Again, I reiterate the ADA access for all stations because I want to be able to use the entire system. I can walk and climb stairs, but there are many people who can't. And electrification is important to me. I'm glad that we are electrifying the central branch, but in order to reach our greenhouse gas goals, I certainly think that branches need to be electrified, such as Oyster Bay, Poughkeepsie, Danbury, and the main line out to Yaphank or Riverhead, and the Montauk line out to Spionk. So we have to be aspirational in our goals. And again, I did download the train time for Long Island Railroad, and I'm learning more about apps. So apps are great. I really liked using MTA e-tickets, and let's see what we can do to make service at Stone Street more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rachel Foss.
Good morning. I'm Rachel Foss, the Senior Research Analyst for reInvent Albany. We advocate for more transparent and accountable state government, including for authorities like the MTA. We continue to honor the heroic work of MTA essential workers, some of whom have been tragically lost due to COVID-19. We strongly support the MTA's April request for an additional $3.9 billion in federal emergency funds to keep the trains and buses running. Federal aid needs to come soon. The $3.8 billion from the CARES Act will run out in a few months as the MTA continues to sustain massive revenue losses from fares and tolls. In May alone, the MTA saw $486 million in fare revenue losses and $104 million in lost bridge and toll revenue. Dedicated taxes are also seeing large losses. The Mass Transportation Operating Assistance Fund, MTOA, one of the MTA's largest dedicated taxes, saw a 48% drop in revenue in May, according to the Comptroller's report on tax receipts, with $182 million lost over the last 2 months compared to what was received in 2019. We are advocating hard for more federal funding for the MTA. Last week, we released a report making the case that federal investment in the MTA is an investment in American jobs. We found that from 2011 to 2018, the MTA spent $8 billion on vendors in states outside of New York, a third of total MTA domestic spending. This investment supported as many as 100,000 jobs nationally in 46 states other than New York, and includes everything from wooden railroad ties from West Virginia to uniforms from South Carolina. Yesterday, the MTA CFO was quoted saying the MTA is facing the most acute financial crisis in its history. The numbers don't lie, and the MTA is broke. This is clearly not the time to almost double the size of the MTA police force. The MTA should not hire the remaining 340 officers, which could save the MTA $170 million through 2023. Longer term, stopping further expansion of the MTA police will save $530 million over 10 years due to increasing costs like pensions and salaries, which cap out at $100,000 after 7 years of service. Lastly, while the MTA's revised debarment guidelines are an improvement over the first draconian emergency regulations, the law itself remains severely flawed. We understand the MTA is bound by state law, but debarment of contractors creates an environment where contractors will charge more to compensate for increased risk. The law also risks politicizing the procurement process and potentially creating undue pressure on vendors to make campaign contributions to avoid debarment. We believe the law's adoption via late-night Albany budget negotiations was not carefully considered, and the provision should be repealed in its entirety. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrew Pollack.
Good morning, Chairman Foy, members of the board. I am Andrew Pollack. I am the public advisor to the Passengers United Advocacy Group. Today, I will be talking about a couple Long Island Railroad issues, two specifically. Number one, I was taking a look at the committee book, and I noticed that the new schedules are supposed to start on Monday, July 13th. To President Ng, please reconsider reinstating the 2:11 p.m. eastbound train from Penn Station to Long Beach, because right now we are only at 90% service. We only have the 256 train, which is an express that goes to Jamaica. So I'm hoping that train will be back in the schedule once we hit July. And second, I've noticed that this upcoming weekend, June 27th, and coming up on July 11th, we are going to have shutdowns along the main line. The only question right now we are wondering, is Nice Bus going to cross Honor on the N22 and N24 between Mineola and Hicksville? Also, I noticed on the weekend of July 11th and 12th, there is supposed to be mainline service directed to the Hempstead line. Why are you telling people to go to Hempstead when it is a short bus ride to go down to Franklin Avenue and getting off at North 7th Street if Nice Bus is going to cross Honor on the N4041 route? So please keep this in mind. Other than that, thank you all very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jose De Jesus, followed by Bradley Bashirs.
Good afternoon. My name is Jose De Jesus, President and Business Agent of ATU Local 1179. Today I'm reaching out to the MTA Board to convey my concerns as well as my great disappointment in the MTA contract negotiation team. I have worked in partnership along with the other unions in conjunction with the MTA COVID-19 Task Force Committee headed by Craig. We have worked closely with the committee to create solutions for our members could navigate safely through the COVID-19 pandemic. While I appreciate that the governor, along with the MTA chairman and members of this board, recognize our members as essential workers and have even labeled them as heroes, I applaud the effort of being made for our members getting hazard pay. I'll do my part in helping with that effort. But in the spirit of cooperation, went out the window on June 2nd on collective bargaining agreement negotiations. Your contract negotiating team, after admitting that we were fair in our demands because we were only asking what was already agreed to with the TW Local 100. It was at this point when I was told that they refused to negotiate anything that pertained to parity with TW Local 100. It was at this point when the notion of our members being considered heroes was only worthy from the negotiating team as zeros. There was clearly a smack in the face because my membership risked their lives just as the members of TW 100, but without equal pay. People of good conscience can agree that it is only unfair but should be unacceptable to all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bradley Bashir, followed by Christina Lampropoulos.
Good morning. I'm Bradley Bashir, representing the New York City Transit Riders Council. Today, I'm addressing the exciting 2-year anniversary of the Atlantic Ticket Build Study, which allows city commuters to ride the Long Island Railroad at a discounted rate with free transfers to New York City Transit, subways, and buses. By the end of March, over 1.7 million Atlantic tickets were sold, generating over $12 million in revenue for the railroad. While these numbers point to a successful program, further improvements would bolster this success while providing the safe and affordable travel that is so important right now as our region begins to reopen. In order to provide and build from the program's success, the Riders Council would like to see the following 3 items happen. First, make the Atlantic Ticket a permanent discounted program. Second, improve purchasing options, such as adding it to e-tix and ultimately to Omni, providing monthly and one-way ticket options with transfers, and fixing ticket vending machines and reprogramming them to better direct riders to the Atlantic Ticket option. And third, improve and expand Atlantic Ticket's marketing campaign to let more riders know about this affordable riding option. With all that is going on in our new world, riders need affordable travel options that support social distancing. Making the Atlantic Ticket program permanent, improving purchasing options, and marketing will help these efforts. As we move forward in the reopening process, we would like to continue the conversation to identify additional areas where the Atlantic Ticket, aka Freedom Ticket concept, will help both riders and the MTA. And in closing, we'd like to thank the MTA and all of its frontline heroes who have kept the system running during these very, very challenging times. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christina Lampropoulos, followed by Mark Henry.
I'm Christina Lampropoulos, president of TBTA SOBA. I represent 140 sergeants and lieutenants on MTA's bridges and tunnels. The majority of my membership have served the MTA for nearly 20 years. They have served this agency for 9/11, major snowstorms, hurricanes, accidents, suicides, political protests, and COVID-19. Every day they don their uniforms in the face of any challenge, and they are the heroes of the TBTA. On June 2nd, my executive board was notified that the MTA is reevaluating their bargaining position due to its current financial state. Where does that leave us? It's unacceptable for the MTA to take this stand. Our contract has expired since 2012. Since 2016, we've been negotiating, attempting to settle up to 2019. Since 2016, we've been strung along and rejected at every attempt. We're at impasse, scheduled for one last mediation, and sadly, the MTA has given the dedicated members of my unit no hope. Throughout the COVID pandemic, it's become abundantly clear that SOBA sergeants and lieutenants are the most essential employees TBTA has. While the majority of TBTA employees were sent home to work or put in reduced schedules, my members have been required to continue to report to work. They've kept operations running smoothly so the rest of your employees can remain safe at home. Meanwhile, TBTA uses non-union, non-civil service employees to replace us in our regular duties and gain leverage in contract bargaining. You can't hide behind your excuses of financial hardship, refusing to bargain with the hardworking employees in SOBA and throughout the MTA. They are just excuses. What is the excuse for allowing the TBTA to keep its most essential employees from settling their contracts? For keeping sergeants and lieutenants at 2012 wages, keeping first and second level sergeants making less than their subordinates? What is the excuse when every other employee, including non-union, non-civil service employees, have gotten raises in the last 8 years? You need to step up, put your excuses aside, and make sure all of your heroes don't get zero.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mark Henry, followed by Lisa Daglian.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all. Chairman Foy, members of the MTA board, my name is Mark Henry. I'm the president and business agent of ATU Local 1056 in Queens, and I also chair the ATU Legislative Conference Board. On behalf of those members, I urge this board must acknowledge the sacrifice and hard work by these members of ATU locals that work for New York City Transit. This body of employees should never be underestimated. Everyone in the MTA unions, especially in Queens and Staten Island locals, has given and given for this crisis. We are all in this together. Remember? The governor, the mayor, elected officials called on us to be there for the average New Yorker, and we did. We are deserving of parity wages, the same as Local 100. The federal monies have already been provided. In the very beginning, the MTA didn't react to this virus seriously, and some of us paid the ultimate sacrifice. Since this pandemic hit New York, my local has suffered 6 members, countless lives lost due to this coronavirus, countless members sick because of this virus. Everyone realized this virus doesn't play favorites, and the risk of the contact increases every day you're exposed. ATU members, just like TWU members, sacrificed our lives for the greater good of this city during a time when everyone's life was in jeopardy. Our future was uncertain. Our exposure was great, and others were told to shelter in place. We come to work during this pandemic. We sacrificed during 9/11. We moved the military, disasters, moving homeless, operating during protests, blackouts, subway and rail shutdowns. We're there. Hurricane events like Sandy, we're there. Reconnecting the Rockaways, we're there. We provide a safe haven and safe riding. Today, this board must concede this wrong and embarrassment and its fairness and accountability to this workforce that has stood time and time again, crisis after crisis. This should not be the tale of two wages. Come back to the negotiating table, settle our agreements. These individuals who are alive today are deserving. They are heroes, they are essential, they are frontline, they are emergency responders, and they need to be treated fairly, Mr. Foy. Remember, you called us heroes. Don't make us zeros. Come back to the table, settle our contracts. We're just asking for parity, and we can move on and be there for the city of New York. I'm always available for commentary or questions.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lisa Daglian.
Greetings. My name is Lisa Daglian, and I'm the Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, PCAC. We're thrilled, as we know all New Yorkers are, that our region continues to reopen and hope the worst of the COVID crisis is behind us. The MTA and its heroic workforce had a tremendous role to play in ensuring that essential workers get to their frontline jobs and help flatten the curve and stop the spread. On behalf of all riders, thank you. This week, New York City follows Long Island and the Hudson Valley and the rest of the state in entering phase 2. A data-driven approach has been integral to the governor's reopening strategy and continues to be the safest way to ensure that we don't see a spike in cases. As the region enters its new normal, more and more riders are coming back to the system. In handing out PPE 2 weeks ago, we heard from dozens they have never seen the subways and stations cleaner, and we agree. We hope that the last weeks and months have provided the agency with good information and data about the effectiveness of its cleaning initiatives and the use of innovative technologies like UVC and antimicrobials, and that the MTA will continue to explore how to maintain the cleanest system possible. Importantly, we hope it will use the data to plan a path forward to resumption of 24/7 service. We understand why the drastic step of overnight closures was taken, but it's time to look to the future and to again serving all riders, particularly those who need to travel late at night and early in the morning. We would like to meet with those at the MTA who will be weighing the metrics of when to reopen the system to 24/7 operations as soon as possible, in order to get a better idea of how and when this will happen. After all, the city that never sleeps should not be known as the city that naps. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matt Lelou, followed by Tim Dubnow.
Hello. Thanks for taking the time to hear my story. My name is Matt Lelou. I'm a fitter welder at New Flyer of America, which makes buses for the MTA. I weld hybrid racks for various propulsion systems for the Metro Coaches New Flyer build in St. Cloud, Minnesota. When I'm not welding, I serve our membership as the president of the Communications Workers of America, CWA Local 7304. I represent over 900 members at 2 New Flyer plants in St. Cloud and Crookston, Minnesota. As the president, I'm given the privilege of working through difficult or controversial topics on behalf of the membership. COVID-19 has been one of those topics. Because we have a union, we have been able to work with the company on many issues, a privilege our coworkers at New Flyer's other American plants don't have. We have our problems too, though. Early on in the outbreak, New Flyer decided to close both of our locations for a temporary 2-week shutdown. They offered to accept volunteers to work on a few projects. CWA and New Flyer agreed that any employee could self-quarantine due to the pandemic. Not many employees volunteered, and New Flyer withdrew from our agreement. Employees were given recall notices with the line, "If we do not hear from you by the date indicated above, we will consider you to have voluntarily resigned your position with New Flyer of America." Many employees felt threatened with job loss if they chose to use the protections that were bargained on their behalf. Unfortunately, our union had to file an unfair labor practice against New Flyer for the violation. It is currently pending. I'm troubled by what I've heard from other New Flyer plants. The MTA should take those concerns seriously and encourage New Flyer to negotiate a national community benefits agreement. In many ways, I work for the MTA too. The MTA should encourage good behavior and strong labor standards from its contractors. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tim Dubnow.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Tim Dubnow. I'm the Deputy Organizing Director of Communications Workers of America, CWA. I'm based here in New York City. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you today. I want to raise some concerns about New Flyer, a major supplier of buses to the MTA. CWA represents workers at its factories in Minnesota, but the rest of its U.S. plants, including one in Jamestown, New York, are non-union. We've long been troubled by how New Flyer treats the people who make its buses. The reports we've heard about racial discrimination, sexual harassment, retaliation, and mandatory overtime are egregious. Recently, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, New Flyer has fallen short of prioritizing the health and safety of its employees. We talked to workers in Jamestown and in Queens, New York, too, who are working to repair MTA buses. They were later interviewed by the New York Post. The Post found that New Flyer was, quote, sending workers out to high-risk locations with no protective equipment, downplaying the coronavirus, and refusing to enforce social distancing. A worker in New Flyer's Jamestown plant in New York facility said that many employees, quote, share the same community tools and they aren't being sanitized, and, quote, staff are coming in sick but not being told to go home, and was repeatedly told that the pandemic would blow over. On New Flyer's recent earnings call, CEO Paul Sobry shared that approximately 65 to 70% of their employees had either gone on government assistance during the shutdown or had burned through their vacations. Sobry said that this quote had been helpful to reduce our expenses as well as our cash burn, and revealed that New Flyer had built a cushion of $550 million in liquidity. New Flyer appears to have successfully externalized the cost of this pandemic onto the public while maintaining significant liquidity for themselves. Further, forcing workers to use the limited pay time off available to them means that workers will have none available later, enabling the companies to build a cushion while leaving the workers without one. This kind of behavior is unacceptable, and the MTA should be demanding more from its contractors. We'd like to see the MTA adopt a manufacturer and careers policy with high road labor standards for those who make its equipment. And we want New Flyer to negotiate a national community benefits agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Miranda Nelson.
Good afternoon. My name is Miranda Nelson, and I'm the New York Director of Jobs to Move America. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Jobs to Move America believes we can have a cleaner environment and good jobs in communities that need them most. We work to transform the public contracting process to make sure that companies receiving public money use it to create jobs that sustain communities and the environment. We continue to applaud the MTA's commitment to clean emissions bus fleet by 2040. I believe that the MTA should ensure that every day is a good family-supporting job. The MTA is planning to spend $3.5 billion in buses in its new capital plan, and yet corporations like New Flyer receive MTA money to manufacture buses, but often do not create good jobs in the communities that need them. New Flyer is really an outlier in the electric bus industry. Its main competitors, BYD and Proterra, have both committed to good jobs and community benefits like training. New Flyer's concerning actions around coronavirus are of a piece with their disregard for the workers and communities they work with. The MTA should adopt a manufacturing careers policy that rewards high-road manufacturers. The MTA should ensure that labor standards are placed into future MTA procurements, including their upcoming electric vehicle purchases. The MTA can include policy language as part of their procurement process to encourage the makers of buses and trains to commit to creating good manufacturing jobs, invest in newer existing manufacturing facilities, and establish pathways into the industry for people facing barriers to employment. As the largest transit agency in the country, the MTA can be a leader in ensuring that our new electric buses are manufactured for transit agencies and workplaces with decent wages and working conditions. Our public transit money should be invested in jobs that lift up our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Vincent Montefiore.
Good morning, Chairman Foy and distinguished members of the MTA Board. My name is Vincent Montefiore, and I am the president of the Transit Supervisors Organization. Our organization represents the hardworking, dedicated, and heroic men and women who supervise the bus operations in the OA, TA, Queens, and MTA bus. Throughout this historic pandemic, our members have courageously come to work every day to ensure that the essential transportation services for the heroes who are performing critically essential work during this pandemic is being provided to them. However, this has come at a cost to our members and their families. To date, we have had well over 110 of our members who have tested positive for COVID-19. As a percentage of positives by title, it is our supervisors who have the highest rate of infection in the Department of Buses. Tragically, 3 of our members, OA dispatcher Felix Castillo, MTA bus dispatcher Clyde Coburn, and transit support coordinator Yvette John, lost their lives due to the virus. We would like to thank the MTA Board and the leadership of the TW for coming to an agreement that grants line of duty death benefits to the families of our fallen heroes. Even with these sacrifices, our members have endured to work under a contract that has expired on August 31st, 2018. We have not received any raises since 2017. As recently as a few weeks ago, we were in the process of finalizing a 28-month successor agreement that was patterned on Local 100's 2017-2019 agreement, when on June 10th, we received a letter from Anita Miller informing us that given the financial calamity the MTA is facing as a result of the pandemic, the MTA is reevaluating our budget and bargaining positions based on this new reality. That letter unilaterally ended our contract negotiations. The terms of this 28-month agreement is September 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2020. The 2.5% pattern raises in this agreement would have occurred in 2018 and 2019, thus predating the pandemic and the financial calamity it has caused on the 2020 MTA budget. These 2 raises have already been budgeted and accounted for in the 2018 and 2019 MTA budgets. Therefore, settling this contract would not have any financial impact on the 2020 budget. We are now 3.5 wage increases behind those of Local 100 members. This has resulted in many cases where the hourly wages of the employees we supervise are higher than our current hourly wages. This has left many of our members frustrated and demoralized. Many of them are even considering going back to their former titles. Throughout this pandemic, our members have done everything that has been asked of them by the MTA to keep our transportation system up and running for our essential workers. We are now asking the MTA to step up to the plate for our members and direct labor relations to re-engage with us in negotiating this long overdue 28-month contract.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker is Miriam Fisher, followed by James Morello.
I'm Miriam Fisher. I wish everyone health and safety, accessibility, quoting Byford, a moral imperative, continued commitment to make subways accessible to all, people with disabilities, seniors, parents with strollers, bad backs, knees, luggage. On June 5th, the Appellate Division of the Supreme Court unanimously upheld a ruling that the MTA must abide by New York City human rights law. That means accessibility for all. Byford initiated a study to examine the feasibility of all stations to be retrofitted for elevators, ramps. Please release the data, ramps as one avenue for accessibility, cheaper than elevators. The Second Avenue subway extension, a prohibitively expensive multi-billion-dollar project. Look to European models of light rail, express buses, faster, cheaper, easier to make accessible. Even our neighbor, New Jersey, is going light rail. Cops of the subway, given the recent dramatic protests of police brutality throughout the country, please relieve the duties of the MTA police regarding the homeless, fare beaters, use the money to repair and fix the subway and for accessibility. Congestion pricing. Cuomo missed the opportunity when he spoke to Trump directly to advocate for federal approval of the congestion pricing. Funding for the subway is related to jobs, getting to work, and environmental impact. Less pollution, traffic, congestion, more safety. We all see clearer air now with our streets and less cars. Please advocate for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is James Morello.
Good morning. My name is James Morello. I'm an MTA worker, a member of the ATU, Amalgamated Transit Union, and a shop steward for Local 726. Since the start of this pandemic, I've come to work every day and done whatever I've been asked. I'm a bus operator for New York City Transit, and I've watched my fellow operators get sick and some unfortunately die. We've come to work every day and been called essential workers and even heroes. Yet, when it's time to pay us, and time to pay us equal to our brothers at TWU, the MTA walks away. I urge you to settle our contract and pay us fairly. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andres Castro.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Andres Castro. I'm a bus operator out of Queens Division, HU 1056. During these trying times, I feel that me and my other members feel that we've been driving these buses unsafe. We received PPE and we believe it was too late. And we also think that it's just fair that we received the pay that Local 100 is also receiving as well. They say that we're essential workers, that we're heroes moving other heroes, but to be honest, every day that I put on my uniform and I drive that bus, I'm scared that I come home and I bring something to my newborn son and my wife and my sick mother-in-law. So all I ask is that President Foy, the board members of MTA, please relook our contracts, please understand the sacrifices that we've made and how we feel when we go to work every single day with the trying public. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Norbert Geese.
Good afternoon. My name is Norbert Geese. I'm a board member of Civics United for Railroad Environmental Solutions. COVID-19 has shown us that people who have unhealthy community air quality are in more danger of contracting the virus. We believe all neighborhoods deserve the cleanest possible air. For 12 years, Cures has been advocating to clean up pollution from unregulated, non-tier switched locomotives that were owned by the LIRR and operated by the New York and Atlantic Railway. The MTA has received $21 million in public subsidies to repower these locomotives to Tier 4 switching standards. On June 5th, 2020, Mary Parison Lavelle attended a Long Island Metro Business Action meeting at which the LIRR President Phil Lang was guest speaker. Mary asked when RFP 63 was going to go forward and accomplish the already funded Tier 4 switching repowering. His response was that he was awaiting a report from the MTA Inspector General. So when will this report be available? When will the LIRR spend the remaining of the $21 million on Tier 4 switching locomotive repowering to permanently remove 95% of the locomotive pollution from our community? Please help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Deborah Grice, followed by Chris Grice.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes,
my name is Deborah Grice. I am a disabled New Yorker and senior now. And my big complaint is bus drivers not following your actual rules that I'm allowed to board in the front of the bus. A year ago, I broke my foot and ankle and sustained a mild concussion, and this was not the first time I broke. And I had to use a wheelchair. And my half-fare Metro card at that time, because 61, was changed from just the accessible card to a AutoGate card, which means that I cannot go without a walker or wheelchair. Because I have my gait looks good doesn't mean I don't need my walker. This past Friday, I had a bus driver tell me that I didn't need my walker because I had I was able to I had packages on. Well, of course I have packages on my walker. I have other hidden disabilities that let me get a half-fare Metro card. But when I broke my foot, I was allowed to get a AutoGate card. Now I'm tired of the drive, and what frustrates me the most is where I'm sitting on the bus because I finally get the numbers and they have to take me on. Your announcement says that any person who has trouble boarding in the back, because not all disabilities are shown, may board the front. Your bus drivers need to all go for true refresher courses. They also need to know that people are short stature, because my cousin came on with me. She's under 5 feet, 4'8" to be exact. Was also helping me make sure the fact that my balance, because that's also why I use the walker, besides injuries in my spine. So I'm tired of you drivers telling me I'm obese, which is not their business. It's not their business. What kind of disability? I request to go on the front with my walker, so when you go up the ramp and sit down carefully and not fall down. I would appreciate the courtesy. Plus, I want them to take the training that is due them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chris Rice.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Christopher D. Rice. I'm a member of all other titles of transportation, but I'm also a disability advocate. First of all, I'd like to agree with Mr. Bradley said. Happy anniversary to our Atlantic ticket. It is a big thing also because we have seen a lot of people use it, and we hope we can continue using it. I'm glad it's on the new Long Island Railroad app, so therefore there's other ways of using it. But I'm not here I'm here for other reasons as well. As Ms. Grice has mentioned as well, and I'm going to add this up. It's not just in Brooklyn, but it's in all boroughs. When we're supposed to work together, yes, we are maybe heroes, but we also remember we have seniors, we have people with disabilities and hidden disabilities. We need to show courtesy, the respect to anyone. We're not the judge and juries, but here's the thing. If a walker cannot get on the back of the bus because there is a rule called proper safety. We need to think of safety for our customers. It is in our slogan, and we need to keep it possible ways. We have seen a lot of the passengers gotten hurt to try to get on or off. They cannot lift those walkers. I'm surprised some of them can't. They're even saying, why should I get on the bus? Well, it's all the ways of advocating for buses. First of all, a walker or a short-staffed person cannot even lift their legs up because the bus is very high. The main thing is we should not be criticizing the walkers or the wheelchairs or a person with a cane. Because when it rains, it's dangerous and slippery. Let's think of safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is C.N.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the board. As a blind New Yorker, I would like to know, how is a blind person meant to social distance themselves on a subway platform or a subway train? I feel this emphasizes even more so the importance of the e-health on-demand program for people with disabilities and weak immune systems. I feel that the EHA on-demand program needs to continue without a $15 cap and without reduction to rides, the daily rides our user can have. Sadly, Governor Cuomo vetoed a bill that would protect paratransit users in this time of the coronavirus by requiring access ride drivers to wear face masks and gloves. Hopefully something can be done about this. And also, I feel that if the accessible ride vehicles were switched to electric vehicles, that would save a lot of money to this vital service that we have in New York City, this wonderful paratransit program. And one quick final thing, I'd like to thank everyone today, and that's all I have to say. Thank you again.
Thank you. Our next speaker is June Baylor.
Good day, MTA Board and ATU. As the chairwoman for Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1056 at Queens Village Depot, during the pandemic, my members expressed that they were afraid to come to work and afraid of risking their life and their family members' life. We asked for PPE back in March and was denied even though we had inventory. We could have avoided 5 deaths and many other sick, including myself, at Queens Village Depot if PPE was distributed when asked. We deserve equal pay and hazard pay and not zeros for heroes. We were there for 9/11. We were there for the blackout. We were there for Katrina. We were here for COVID-19. And whenever you needed us, we deserve better. We deserve to be compensated for working and deserve to be compensating for falling ill due to no PPE. Please, no zeros for MTA heroes. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joseph Morales.
Okay, my name is Joseph Morales, and I'm advocating for equal pay for equal work, and this is my comment. I'm an MTA bus operator and ATU member, and I'd like to ask Mr. Foy and all those responsible for giving us equal pay for equal work, what is my service worth to you? What is my future worth to you? And most importantly, what is my life worth to you? If I were your son, your brother, your best friend, would your decision be so hard? I put my life on the line to fulfill my obligation to the MTA and provide service during the deadliest pandemic in history. I put my elderly parents' lives in danger. I put my wife's life in danger, who incidentally suffers from an autoimmune disease that, if infected with COVID, could kill her. I put my children's lives in danger, who also suffer from asthma, which, as you know, can gravely complicate COVID symptoms. I put them all in danger to provide service to the many doctors, healthcare workers, and essential workers that needed me to get to work so that they could get their jobs done, saving lives and providing essential services as well for my fellow New Yorkers and my fellow Americans. And now it seems that my service, my bravery, and my heart have gone discounted, taken for granted, and just plain forgotten. So I ask you, Mr. Foy, and all that have a say in the decision to show us that we are appreciated and honored for being the heroes that we have definitely proven we are. Please give us equal pay for equal work. Even Governor Cuomo has recognized us as essential workers who are a shining example of bravery and duty in the face of this worldwide pandemic. He mentioned us at every daily briefing. He told other New Yorkers who encountered us to thank us for our bravery, service to our city. He saw us, Mr. Foy. He saw our heart, Mr. Foy. Honorable committee and listening, and all listening, please see us. See all our colors, black, brown, and white. Be a shining example of good faith and humanity for all companies to learn from and mimic. Stand up and defend your devoted workforce when they need you the most. Stand up for their families. Stand up for their futures. Stand up for their names, their races, their cultures, and most of all, stand up for their lives. Please give us equal pay for equal work. I know it's impossible to price on human life, but I plead with you to ask yourselves, what is the life of a brave, devoted essential worker worth to you? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Galen Fishman.
Hello. Today, a Staten Islander without a car has no way to travel to New York City if they want to avoid mass transit because of COVID. There is an urgent need to provide pedestrian and bicycle access to the Verrazano Bridge. This access would guarantee that all Staten Islanders have access to the rest of New York. Please listen to the people and create a bike and pedestrian lane on the Verrazano Bridge. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Luis Soto.
As a frontline essential worker, we deserve equal pay for the equal work. We lost too many brothers and sisters to this pandemic due to the lack of PPE, which was not issued to us when we really needed it. It's only fair that we get equal pay. New York City transportation was needed, and we showed up. We risked our families' health to keep the city moving. Remember heroes moving heroes? Well, why the zeros? In good faith, where is the parity? We lost 5 brothers and sisters out of our depots to COVID-19. Many were sick. That's 5 people who don't have their family member anymore. We just ask to be treated equally. That's all we're asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Finley Staub.
Good morning, MTA committee. For my public comments this month, I would like to discuss the disabling of YouTube comments on featured videos that you post to your YouTube channel. In the comment section of your YouTube videos that the MTA posts, I often see messages of hate. I feel as though that the comment section of your YouTube videos is highly unnecessary. By doing this would help get rid of the unnecessary hate that is posted in the comment section of your YouTube videos. From this, I would like to make a request to the MTA to please permanently disable the use of YouTube comments on all future videos that the MTA posts to their YouTube channel. Please take this in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Finley. Our next speaker is Edward Cusano.
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Cusano. I'm an executive board member of the Amalgamated Transit Union, Local 1181. I'm going to submit this statement on behalf of the ATU Local 726, 1056, 1179, and obviously 1181. Together, our locals respectively represent approximately 4,500 bus operators, maintainers, cleaners, and dispatchers, operating at various depots in Queens, Brooklyn, and in Staten Island. We perform exactly the same work as our brothers and sisters who operate in these titles in Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Bronx, and who are also represented by the Transit Workers Union Local 100. Although many of us were working for the Transit Authority on 9/11 and during Hurricane Sandy, our work during this past 3 months has been significantly more stressful, difficult, and dangerous than anything any of us have ever experienced. Far too many of our members have died or become seriously ill because they showed up for work when most of the city was sheltering in their homes. And it is clear that the danger and stress of operating the bus system in order to bring the city back to its life is far from over. We have been shocked and dismayed to learn that the Transit Authority is currently planning to resume front boarding on the buses in the near future without having made any plans that have been approved by the health and safety experts to protect our members or the riding public from contracting COVID-19 while riding the bus. Not only will the dividers separate the operators be removed and not replaced with any effective barriers, the Transit Authority has announced that it will not do anything to limit crowding on the buses or even enforce the riding public to wear face masks. We urge you, all of these unions together urge you to put something in place that safely protects the operators of these buses and the riding public. Thank you.
Thank you.